YouTube? Welcome to Fred's Full Throttle. It's been quite an eventful week with a pretty big development in Z06 land. I'm excited to go over this, so let's get right into it. First, I wanted to quickly mention that last Friday was the 5th annual running of the Maine Drive. This is a driving event that I created by myself to go on with friends, and it's slowly snowballed into a bigger and bigger event. The route takes you up through northern New Hampshire, crossing over into northern Maine, and then heads all the way up to the Canadian border. Comprising of around 400 miles and 10 hours of seat time, it's not for the faint of heart. However, those that come with me get to experience two of the best driving roads in all of New England. Having driven the route several times by myself, I had the great idea to invite some friends and make it into an event. So I did. The first year of the official event, which was 2018, I ended up going alone. No matter, I had a blast, and the following year, one person came with me. Shout out to Brian H. But that was just what I needed. The following year, getting 4 cars, then last year 5 cars, and this year we had 8 cars attend. It's definitely starting to gain momentum as word of mouth spreads, and already I'm planning on how to make next year's event even better. I thought some of the driving enthusiasts among us might enjoy that. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to the Z06 news. So this past week, something fairly momentous happened. The Z06 Configurator finally came online on Chevy's website. For those who aren't aware, earlier this year, Chevy had put what they called a visualizer for the C8 Z06 online, letting you play with the colors of the car, a moderate number of options, and you could pan around and view the car from different angles. The visualizer, though, was fairly hobbled. It was buggy, it didn't give a consistent experience, and perhaps biggest of all, it didn't mention the prices for anything that you spec'd. Before the pricing was announced, it was great fun to throw together all sorts of different specs and daydream a little bit about the car. Then the pricing came out. However, without the configurator online, it was a real hassle to go back, look up whatever options you'd added, and try to figure out the price of the car as configured. I know some users put together a spreadsheet, which really helped with that process, but the fact that the visualizer only gave you half of the experience was far from ideal. Well, finally, that's fixed. The true configurator is online. Just go to Chevy.com and click on Z06. You can treat the car just like a Lego set, adding and removing options, playing with colors and accessories, and in real time you can see what the car is going to cost you. It's been great going in and configuring the car and visually being able to see the changes and then immediately knowing what it costs. From what I've read online, this is the final piece of the puzzle for a lot of people. Being able to easily play with different configurations and figure out what you like and what you don't. Now, it's not perfect, of course. There were some initial glitches. Apparently, in the first few days, things weren't working correctly. Now that's all fixed. And you can't view the car in 3D or pan around it like you could with the visualizer. And some of the common options are also a bit buried in the menus and can be a little bit hard to find. The CCBs, for example. But the visual quality is better, it's faster to load, and it does feel much more polished than the visualizer. Now things are starting to feel a bit more real. One of the things I really like is that you can click around through the tool and spec out things and immediately see at the end an itemized list of what you added and how it impacts the overall price. It even includes the appropriate gas guzzler tax depending on options and destination freight charges. From some poking around online, I think others are finding the same situation. Now that there is an easy way to tangibly cost out the car, everyone is having to think a little bit more realistically about what it means for them and their own financial situations. Some aren't backing down from a more or less fully loaded car, which will push into the upper hundreds. Some people are doing the difficult math and removing options and trying to drop that price into a more palatable range for their budgets. And more than a few I've seen have said that they're going to just walk away from the car and pursue other avenues, or live with and enjoy a car that they already have instead. $138,465. That's the price of my current ideal spec car. Now comes the hard part for me. No, I'm not talking about figuring out what other options I can part with. That's not the issue. The car is fairly lean spec'd, with just a few choice options that matter to me. At 39, I feel incredibly fortunate that I can afford the car if I trade in the C7. No, the hard part for me is that I keep realizing how absolutely amazing the C7 Grand Sport is, and I'm increasingly not really wanting to part with it. That drive I just did, which I talked about at the opening of this video, was a great reminder of how amazing this car is. The bark of the engine when you shift, the communicative steering, the mechanical click of the shifter going into gear, and that tenacious grip that comes so effortlessly. The C7 Grand Sport goes as good as it looks, and it really offers everything I could want in a car. I've got 3 years, give or take, till I need to make any decisions, but I'm not sure if that's going to make things easier or harder. The C7 is absolutely sublime, and though I know that the Z06 is going to be amazing, I'm trying to think if it'll be $73,000 more fun than my C7, which is a difference in what I paid for the C7 new versus the cost of the Z06. Increasingly, it seems like I'm gonna just have to save like a madman and try to find some way to keep the C7 and get the C8. First world problems indeed. So what would you do in my shoes when you have a car that's perfect for you and the Z is somewhat of an unproven quantity? Sure, it's gonna be a great car, but will it be worth it in fun for that extra $73,000? I'm really curious what everyone else thinks and what you've done in your own lives to make room for a C8 Z06. Did you sell a favorite car? Were you fortunate enough to not have to thin out the stable to get one? Have you decided that it's not worth the additional money and then you're just going to keep what you have? I think this is going to get harder before it gets easier, and I'm really interested to hear some insight from everybody. 3 years is a long time, so I'm pretty confident I can save up that much money. Then the challenge is going to be, where do I store an extra car that needs to be stored inside? Please reach out in the comments or email me. I'm genuinely interested to know how everybody's approaching this. If I get enough responses, I'll actually make a video about it and shed a little bit more light on the subject for everyone. And with that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, Fred out!